How did you get your father-in-law's approval? My girlfriend Emma's father hated me from the moment we met. Not the normal protective dad thing. Real hatred. Cold eyes, tight jaw, refused to shake my hand at their house. Emma said he was like that with everyone she dated, that I shouldn't take it personally. But 6 months in and nothing had changed. I tried everything normal guys try. Brought wine to dinner, complimented his vintage Mustang in the garage, asked about his contracting business. He'd respond with one-word answers and then leave the room. Emma's mom would apologize for him, saying he had a hard time with Emma dating anyone. Then things got weird. Her father, whose name was Victor, started showing up places. I'd be at the grocery store and see him 3 aisles over, watching me. I'd be at the gym and he'd be on a treadmill across the room, not exercising, just staring. When I mentioned it to Emma, she said her dad shopped at that store too and belonged to that gym, that I was being paranoid. One night, Victor called me directly. First time he'd ever initiated contact. He said he needed help moving some heavy equipment at a job site Sunday morning and his usual guys were unavailable. Would I help? I said yes immediately, thinking this was finally my chance to connect with him. The job site was an old warehouse being renovated, completely empty except for some construction materials. No other workers, just Victor and me. He had me move concrete blocks from one end of the building to the other for 3 hours. Hard, pointless work. He barely spoke, just pointed where things should go. Then he asked if I'd ever told anyone a secret I'd promised to keep. I said no, that I was good at keeping my word. He nodded slowly and said that was important in his line of work. That made sense for a contractor, I guess. Client confidentiality, bids, that kind of thing. The following week, he called again. This time he needed me to deliver a sealed package to an address across town. He'd pay me $200. Just drop it off. Don't ask questions. Don't open it. I did it. The house was in a rough neighborhood. Bars on the windows. A man answered who looked like he hadn't slept in days, grabbed the package, and slammed the door. I told myself it was probably just construction documents or something legal. But then I noticed Emma acting different. She'd get quiet when her phone rang, taking calls in another room. She stopped mentioning her dad entirely. When I asked if Victor had said anything about me helping him, she just said he appreciated it and left it at that. 2 weeks later, Victor called me to his house alone. Emma was supposedly at work. He sat me down in his home office and closed the door. Said he'd been watching me carefully, testing me, and I'd passed. He asked if I wanted to know why Emma's last 3 boyfriends had all suddenly left town. My stomach dropped. I said yes. Victor opened his desk drawer and pulled out 3 photos. Young men, all around my age. He lined them up on the desk between us. He said they'd all failed his tests. They'd asked too many questions. Couldn't follow simple instructions. It proved they couldn't be trusted with sensitive information. I asked what happened to them. Victor's face stayed completely blank. He said they made choices that led them away from his daughter, and that was all I needed to know. Then he asked if I understood what he was really asking me, if I was willing to help him with his actual business, not construction work. I sat there staring at those 3 photos, my hands shaking. Victor pushed a business card across the desk. It had an address and a time. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. He said I should come alone and bring my work gloves, and that's when I realized the rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I stare at the business card in my hand. The address and time, 9 p.m. printed in clean, professional font. Nothing suspicious about it at all, which somehow makes it worse. My thumb traces over the embossed letters as I consider my options. Emma doesn't know about this meeting. At least, she hasn't mentioned it. But after seeing those photos of her ex-boyfriends laid out on Victor's desk like trophies, I can't shake the feeling that this is some kind of test I can't afford to fail. At 8:45 p.m., I park 3 blocks away from the address. The work gloves Victor instructed me to bring are sitting on the passenger seat. I pull them on, flexing my fingers against the stiff leather. They're new. I bought them specifically for tonight, not wanting to use the worn pair from my garage. The warehouse district is quiet this time of night. Most of the buildings are dark, their loading docks empty, security lights casting long shadows across cracked asphalt. The address leads me to a building that looks abandoned at first glance. Windows blacked out, no sign on the door, just a small keypad next to a heavy metal entrance. I check the time, 8:58 p.m. Taking a deep breath, I knock on the door. It swings open almost immediately. Victor stands there, expression unreadable, wearing a dark suit that looks expensive even in the dim light. "You're punctual," he says, nodding slightly. "That's good." He steps aside to let me in. The warehouse interior is mostly empty, except for some folding tables set up near the back. 3 men I don't recognize are standing around one of them, looking up as I enter. They're all wearing similar dark clothing, and none of them smiles. "This way," Victor says, leading me toward a loading bay where a black SUV is parked. Its trunk open. My heart pounds against my ribs. I think about those 3 boyfriends again, wondering if any of them stood exactly where I'm standing now. If they made the wrong choice and ended up where? Dead? In hiding? Victor never actually said what happened to them. "I appreciate you coming," Victor says, stopping next to the SUV. "Most people wouldn't, after our conversation. I want to understand what this is about," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Victor studies me for a moment. "It's about loyalty, trust, discretion. Emma has chosen you, which means you're now connected to our family. But family business requires certain qualities." One of the men approaches, carrying a large duffel bag. He sets it on the ground between us. "This needs to be moved from the trunk of this vehicle to the trunk of another one parked 2 blocks east," Victor explains. "You'll carry it. You won't look inside. You won't ask questions. You'll complete the task and return here." I stare at the bag. Is this illegal? Victor's expression doesn't change. Would that matter to you? The question hangs between us. I realize this is part of the test, maybe the most important part. I care about Emma, I say finally. That's what matters to me. Something shifts in Victor's eyes, not warmth exactly, but recognition. Then prove it. Show me you can be trusted with sensitive matters. I pick up the duffel bag. It's heavy, maybe 40 pounds, and something inside shifts when I lift it. Cash, probably. I don't want to know what else it might contain. 2 blocks east, Victor repeats. Black sedan. Trunk will be unlocked. Place it inside. Close the trunk. Walk away. Come back here. I nod and head toward the side door he indicates. As I'm leaving, I hear one of the men ask Victor something in a low voice. "He'll do fine," Victor responds. "Emma chose better this time." The night air is cool against my face as I walk down down the empty street, the weight of the bag growing heavier with each step. I find the sedan exactly where Victor said it would be. No one is around. I place the bag in the trunk, close it, and walk away without looking back. When I return to the warehouse, Emma is there. She's standing next to her father, wearing a dark blazer and slacks, her hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. She looks professional, serious, nothing like the Emma who curls up on my couch watching reality TV shows. You didn't tell me about this, I say to her. I couldn't, she replies simply. Victor steps forward. Emma handles the accounting for our operation. She's very good with numbers. The pieces start falling into place. The mysterious phone calls, the way she'd sometimes disappear for hours with vague explanations, the tension between her and her father that never seemed purely personal. You passed the first test, Victor says. The others asked too many questions, looked in the bag, tried to negotiate, or worse, they went straight to the police. His voice hardens at this last possibility. And now, I ask, now we see if you want to earn some real money, Victor says. Weekly work, similar to tonight. Simple deliveries, no questions asked. You'll be well compensated. How well? $5,000 per delivery to start. More as you prove yourself. I look at Emma, searching her face for some indication of what she wants me to do. Her expression is carefully neutral, but there's something in her eyes, worry, maybe, or resignation. I need to think about it, I say. Victor nods, seemingly pleased with my caution. Of course, but don't think too long. Opportunities like this don't wait. He hands me an envelope. For tonight's work, I take it, feeling the thickness of cash inside. Emma will drive you home, Victor says. You two have things to discuss. As we walk to Emma's car, I realize I've just crossed a line I can't uncross. Whatever Victor's family business is, I'm now involved. The weight of that decision settles over me like the work gloves still on my hands, foreign, uncomfortable, but somehow fitting. Emma starts the engine, but doesn't put the car in drive. Instead, she turns to me, her face finally showing emotion, fear, relief, determination, all mixed together. I'm sorry, she whispers. I wanted to tell you, but Dad insisted on handling it his way. What exactly am I getting into here, Emma? She takes a deep breath, something you can't easily walk away from. But I promise, I'll be with you every step. She reaches for my hand. The others couldn't handle it. I think you can. I think about those 3 photographs on Victor's desk as Emma pulls away from the curb, driving us back toward a life that will never be the same. It's been 3 months since that night at the warehouse. 3 months of duffel bags, unmarked vehicles, and cash-filled envelopes. I've gotten good at not asking questions, at moving through the shadows of Victor's world like I've always belonged there. Emma and I are sitting on my apartment balcony, city lights twinkling below us. She's curled up in the chair opposite mine, wine glass balanced on her knee, watching me with those careful eyes. You're different now, she says, not accusingly, just stating a fact. Am I? I take a sip from my own glass. I don't feel different. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. You move differently, more aware, always checking exits, watching people's hands. Dad's trained you well without saying a word. I don't know how to respond to that. She's right, of course. The weekly deliveries have changed me. I'm constantly alert, scanning for threats, planning escape routes. Even now, relaxing at home, I know exactly how many seconds it would take to reach the door. How long have you known? I ask. About your dad's business? Emma laughs softly. Forever. I grew up counting cash at the kitchen table. Dad would call it helping with work. I was doing his books by 16. And the boyfriends? The ones in the photos? Her expression clouds. They couldn't handle it. Either the reality was too much, or they thought they could use it against Dad. She reaches across the space between us, takes my hand. You're different. You understand loyalty. The word echoes in my head, loyalty. The same word Victor used that first night. I've been loyal, all right, moving from small deliveries to increasingly complex operations. Last week, I transported what I'm pretty sure were falsified documents across state lines. The week before that, I delivered a package that ticked. Victor wants me to meet someone tomorrow, I say. Someone important. Emma's fingers tighten around mine. Lorenzo. You know him? He's Dad's boss. The one person Dad actually answers to. She pulls her hand away, wraps her arms around herself. If you're meeting Lorenzo, things are escalating. She's right. The next day, Victor takes me to a restaurant so expensive there aren't even prices on the menu. Lorenzo is waiting in a private room at the back. A man in his 60s with silver hair and eyes that evaluate everything they see. So this is Emma's young man, Lorenzo says, not rising from his seat. Victor speaks highly of you. Thank you, sir, I respond, the formality coming naturally. Victor sits to Lorenzo's right, leaving me the chair across from them both. The power dynamic is unmistakable. We have a problem that requires discretion, Lorenzo says after the waiter brings our drinks. Our usual courier has become unavailable. Victor suggested you might be ready for more responsibility. Victor nods slightly, and I understand this is another test. What kind of responsibility? Lorenzo slides a passport across the table. It has my photo, but a different name. How's your Spanish? Decent, I answer truthfully. I took it in college. Good. You'll be making a delivery to Mexico City next week. The details are simple, but the stakes are higher than what you're used to. By higher stakes, he means higher risk. I learned this means carrying cash. A lot of it strapped to my body under specially designed clothing. The amount makes my head spin. One mistake and I'm looking at international money laundering charges. Emma is furious when I tell her. Mexico? Are you insane? Do you know what happens to people who get caught? I'll be careful, I promise. But the words sound hollow even to me. This isn't what I wanted, she says, pacing my living room. When Dad brought you in, it was supposed to be small stuff, safe stuff. I want to remind her that none of this was my idea, that I got pulled into her father's world because of her, but I bite my tongue. It's just one job. That's what they all say, she whispers. The trip to Mexico is the most stressful experience of my life. Every security guard looks suspicious. Every announcement over the airport PA system sounds like it's directed at me. The money belt under my clothes feels like it's screaming for attention. At the border checkpoint, a guard stops me for additional questioning. My heart hammers so hard I'm certain he can hear it. He asks about my trip, my job, flips through my passport with excruciating slowness. Just when I think I'm caught, he stamps the page and waves me through. The delivery itself is anticlimactic. A hotel room, a man with a briefcase, a wordless exchange. I fly back the next day, exhausted but relieved. When I arrive at my apartment, apartment, I find Emma and Victor in the middle of a heated argument. They fall silent when I walk in, but the tension remains thick in the air. Successful trip? Victor asks, his tone casual despite the obvious conflict I've interrupted. No problems. I confirm. Emma won't look at me. Her arms are crossed tightly over her chest, her jaw clenched. Lorenzo was impressed, Victor says. He thinks you have potential. Potential for what? I ask. Victor glances at Emma, then back to me. I'm not getting any younger. The operation needs someone who can step up eventually. Someone who understands discretion and loyalty. The implication hits me like a physical blow. You're grooming me as your replacement? Dad, stop it, Emma snaps. This has gone far enough. This isn't your decision, Emma, Victor says, his voice hardening. You brought him into our lives. What did you think would happen? Not this. She gestures wildly between us. I didn't want him pulled in deeper. Victor turns back to me, ignoring his daughter's outburst. Think about it. The money you've made these past 3 months is nothing compared to what you could earn in a management position. I look at Emma, at the fear and anger in her eyes, then back to Victor with his calm, calculating expression. I'm standing at another crossroads, and this time the path forward seems much darker than before. I need time to consider, I say finally. Victor nods, satisfied. Of course, but remember what I said that first night, opportunities like this don't wait. He kisses Emma's cheek, though she remains rigid. We'll talk soon. After he leaves, Emma collapses onto my couch, tears streaming down her face. This is exactly what happened with the others. Dad pulls them in deeper and deeper until there's no way out. I sit beside her, taking her hand. I'm not them, Emma. That's what I'm afraid of, she whispers. You're better at this than they ever were. Dad sees it. Lorenzo sees it. She looks up at me, eyes glistening, and it terrifies me. I want to reassure her, but the truth is, I'm terrified too. Not of the danger or the illegality, but of how easily I've adapted to this world, of how good I am at moving through the shadows without leaving a trace, of how much I understand Victor's twisted logic about loyalty and family. The work gloves I bought for that first night are worn now, molded to my hands from repeated use. Sometimes I wonder if I'm still wearing them metaphorically, touching this dangerous new life without leaving fingerprints, without fully accepting that it's becoming mine. I'm scrolling through my phone when the news alert pops up. Police raid, suspected money laundering operation. My heart nearly stops as I recognize the address. It's one of Victor's warehouses, the one where I made my first delivery just 3 months ago. I call Emma immediately. No answer. I try again, then a third time before sending a rapid-fire series of texts. When my phone finally rings 20 minutes later, it's not Emma, but Victor. Don't try to reach Emma right now, he says, his voice unnaturally calm. Come to the house. Use the back entrance. Don't bring your phone. What's happening? Is Emma okay? Just do as I say. He hangs up. I remove my phone's battery before driving to Victor's sprawling estate on the outskirts of town. The property looks peaceful, deceptively normal, but the tension inside is thick enough to choke on. Lorenzo is there, pacing the kitchen while Victor sits at the dining table reviewing security footage on a laptop. Good, you're here, Lorenzo says when I walk in. Tell me everything you know about the raid. Nothing beyond what was on the news, I answer truthfully. Is Emma safe? Victor looks up from his screen. She's upstairs. She's fine. His tone suggests I shouldn't question him further on that point. Lorenzo slams his palm against the marble countertop. Someone talked. Someone's been feeding information to the feds. We lost nearly $2 million in that warehouse, not to mention the documentation. It was too precise, Victor agrees. They knew exactly when the shipment would arrive, and exactly where to look. This wasn't random. Lorenzo's eyes narrow as he studies me. You've been making international runs recently, getting closer to the operation's core. I feel a chill run down my spine. You think I'm the informant? Are you? Lorenzo asks bluntly. No, I say, meeting his gaze steadily. I've been loyal from the beginning. Victor stands, closing his laptop. I believe you, but someone close to us isn't. He opens a drawer and pulls out 3 manila folders. These are Emma's previous boyfriends, the ones who disappeared. He spreads the folders on the table. The same 3 faces I saw in those photographs months ago stare back at me from their driver's license photos. Michael Dawson, James Chen, and Trent Wilson, Victor says, tapping each folder in turn. I want you to find out where they are now. I thought they were... I stopped myself. Dead? Victor almost smiles. No, they're alive, but they vanished after getting close to my daughter and my operation. I need to know if they're connected to this raid. Lorenzo nods approvingly. This is your chance to prove yourself beyond doubt. I look between them, understanding the subtext. If I refuse, I become suspect number 1. What resources do I have? Victor slides a key across the table. My office. Computer's unlocked. You'll find access to databases the average person doesn't have. Start digging. As they leave me alone, I hear Lorenzo mutter, if he finds nothing, we know where to look next. Victor's office is immaculate, military in its precision. The computer contains access to what appears to be law enforcement databases. How he obtained these credentials, I don't want to know. I start with Michael Dawson, Emma's boyfriend from 3 years ago. Within an hour, I've found something disturbing. Michael Dawson legally changed his name to Michael Davis 2 years ago. His new address is in Arizona. James Chen became James Carroll, now living in Oregon, and Trent Wilson is now Trevor Williams in Florida. All 3 have the same employer listed on their tax records, the U.S. Department of Justice. Witness protection. It has to be. I sit back, my mind racing. If all 3 of Emma's ex-boyfriends are in witness protection, that means they were informants, which means the door opens and Emma slips in, looking pale and tense. Did you find them? She whispers. They're all in witness protection, I tell her, working for the DOJ. She nods slowly, not looking surprised. I know. You know? I stand up, suddenly feeling like the floor is tilting beneath me. Emma, what's going on? She closes the door quietly and approaches me. I need you to listen very carefully. We don't have much time. She takes a deep breath. I've been working with the FBI for the past 4 years. The words hit me like physical blows. You're the informant. Yes. Her eyes fill with tears. I started gathering evidence against my father after I saw what his business really was, what he was willing to do to people who crossed him. The boyfriends were all carefully selected. Law enforcement officers working undercover. She wipes away a tear. They were supposed to get close enough to gather evidence, but Dad always figured it out. They had to be extracted before she doesn't finish the sentence. And me? I ask, feeling hollow. Was I selected too? Emma shakes her head. You were different. I actually met you by chance. But when I realized you might be someone my father would trust, someone who understood loyalty. She reaches for my hand, but I pull away. You used me. I was trying to save lives, she insists. My father's organization doesn't just launder money. They move drugs, weapons. People have died. People will keep dying. Before I can respond, the door swings open. Victor stands there, his expression unreadable as always, but something cold and dangerous glints in his eyes. He's holding a tablet. I wondered why you came up here, he says to Emma. Now I know. He turns the tablet toward us, showing security footage of Emma entering the office just minutes ago. There's no audio, but it's clear we're having an intense conversation. The cameras in my office record everything, Victor says quietly, including audio. My stomach drops as I realize he's heard every word of Emma's confession. Dad? Emma starts, but Victor cuts her off with a sharp gesture. Downstairs, both of you. We follow him down to the basement, a space I've never seen before. It's finished like a high-end apartment, but with no windows and a heavy steel door that Victor locks behind us. Lorenzo is waiting, his face a mask of controlled fury. 4 years, Victor says, turning to face his daughter. 4 years you've been betraying your family. You're not family, Emma says, her voice surprisingly steady. You're a criminal who happens to be my father. Victor pulls a gun from inside his jacket. I trusted you above everyone else. He points it at Emma, then swings it toward me. And you, I welcomed you in, offered you a future. He didn't know, Emma says quickly. He's innocent in this. Lorenzo steps forward. We need to handle this problem immediately. The feds will be looking for their informant soon. Victor nods, his eyes never leaving mine. You have a choice to make, he tells me. Right now, Emma or the organization, loyalty to her or loyalty to me. The gun in his hand gleams under the basement lights. Emma stands beside me, trembling slightly but chin raised defiantly. Lorenzo watches with calculating eyes, already planning how to clean up whatever mess is about to happen. I look at Emma, the woman I thought I knew, the woman who dragged me into this nightmare for her own purposes. Then I look at Victor, who tested me, trained me, offered me wealth and power if I proved myself worthy. The choice before me isn't just about loyalty. It's about who I am, who I want to be, and whether I can live with the consequences either way. I'm staring at Victor's gun, my mind racing through options. The basement feels like it's closing in around us. Emma's breathing is quick and shallow beside me, but she's standing tall, defiant even with a weapon pointed at her. Choose, Victor repeats, his voice deadly calm. In that moment, everything crystallizes. The past 3 months, the deliveries, the money, the lies, all of it was built on manipulation. But as I look at Emma, I see something real beneath all the deception. Whatever her methods, she was trying to stop something terrible. I choose neither of you, I say, my voice surprisingly steady. This ends now. I lunge forward, not at Victor, but at the light switch near the door. The basement plunges into darkness. In the confusion, I grab Emma's arm and pull her toward where I remember seeing a small utility closet. Shouts and curses fill the air, followed by the unmistakable sound of a gun firing. The bullet hits something metal with a sharp ping. Find them, Lorenzo bellows. Emma's hand finds mine in the darkness, squeezing tight as we squeeze into the closet. There's a tunnel, she whispers against my ear. Dad built escape routes everywhere. Behind the water heater, I feel along the wall until I find what seems like a panel. It slides open silently. Victor's paranoia finally working in our favor. We slip through just as the basement lights flicker back on. The tunnel is narrow but tall enough to stand in, lit by dim emergency lights along the floor. We move quickly, following its twisting path. How long have you known about this? I ask as we run. Since I was 16, Emma says. I've mapped all of Dad's properties, all his escape routes. The FBI has everything. The tunnel ends at a ladder leading to what looks like a storm drain. I climb up first, pushing against the heavy metal cover. We emerge in a wooded area about half a mile from Victor's house, just as sirens begin wailing in the distance. That's our backup, Emma says, pulling out a small phone I've never seen before from inside her shoe. I activated the emergency signal when Dad found us out. Within minutes, the area is swarming with FBI agents. Emma's handler, a stern-faced woman named Agent Reeves, debriefs us separately. I tell her everything, the deliveries, the money laundering, Lorenzo, the international trips. She nods along, occasionally making notes. You've been quite useful without realizing it, she tells me when I finish. Every delivery you made helped us track the organization's structure. So I was just a pawn, I say, the bitterness seeping into my voice. Not to Emma, Agent Reeves says, surprising me. She fought us on bringing you in, said you were innocent, that we should find another way. She studies me carefully. In the end, we agreed to let her approach you naturally, but we never expected you'd get this deep. The raid is successful beyond their expectations. Victor, Lorenzo, and 17 other members of the organization are arrested. Computers are seized, documents recovered, millions in cash and assets frozen. It's the culmination of 4 years of Emma's undercover work. We're separated again for more questioning, then placed in protective custody. It's 3 days before I see Emma again, in a sterile conference room at the FBI field office. I'm sorry, she says immediately. I never meant for any of this to happen. Which part? I ask. Using me as bait or falling for me while doing it? She flinches. I didn't plan to fall in love with you. That part was real. Was anything else real? The question that's been burning in me for days. Emma reaches across the table, hesitates, then pulls back. Everything about us was real. The way I feel about you. The time we spent together. Just not the circumstances that brought us together. Those 3 guys, your boyfriends, they were agents? She nods. Undercover. Each one got close, but Dad always sensed something was off. They were too perfect, too eager to learn about his business. She looks down. You were different. You were cautious, loyal, questioning. Dad respected that. Agent Reeves enters with a thick folder. We have a proposal for both of you, she says, sitting down. Witness protection. New identities, new location, fresh start. Together? I ask, surprised. If that's what you want, Reeves says. Emma's testimony alone is enough to put Victor away for life, but with your corroboration, we can dismantle the entire network. Lorenzo's international connections go deeper than we imagined. 2 weeks later, we're driving across the country in in a nondescript sedan, heading to a small town I'd never heard of before. Our new identities are tucked in an envelope on the dashboard. Our new home is waiting a modest house with a yard, nothing like either of us is used to. Do you think we can really start over? I ask as miles of highway stretch before us. Emma reaches for my hand. I think we already have. We settle into our new life slowly. Emma teaches math at the local high school while I manage a real estate office. We become careful about building friendships, always aware that our past could find us if we're not vigilant. 6 months into our new life, a letter arrives with no return address. Inside is a single sheet of paper with typed text. I always knew, from the first night with those work gloves at 9 p.m., I was testing you not for the organization, but for her. The other 3 failed her. You didn't. Take care of my daughter. It's signed simply, V. I show it to Emma that evening. She reads it 3 times before setting it down, her hands trembling slightly. He knew, she whispers. All this time, he knew what I was doing. Do we tell the FBI? I ask. Emma stares at the letter, then slowly shakes her head. No. This is the last piece of my father I'll ever have. She looks up at me. Do you think he really approved of you? That this was all some twisted way of making sure I ended up with someone who would protect me? I think about Victor's tests, his talk of loyalty, the way he watched me handle that first duffel bag without questions. Maybe in his warped worldview, he was looking out for Emma all along. I think, I say carefully, that even monsters can love their children in their own broken way. Emma takes my hand, interlacing our fingers. And us? Are we broken too? I consider everything we've been through, the lies, the danger, the betrayals, but also the truth we found beneath it all. We're not broken, I tell her, just rebuilt.